Oh, beautiful gold rush with your sparkling top prize, you surely are a sight for sore eyes. And jackpot slots with your chance of $75,000 winners. Oh, how I'd take you for a candlelight dinner.
Sounds like people are really loving the new February Instant Games from the Tennessee Lottery. Play today for your chance to win up to $5 million, only from the Tennessee Lottery. Game-changing fun. Please play responsibly.
To design the Lexus ES, all we had to do was listen. Your ears said exactly where to put the speakers. Your eyes told us where to put the available head-up display.
Hey Lexus, find me an alternate route.
Even your right foot helped out. It let us know you'd enjoy a little more torque. Turns out you had a lot to tell us. We certainly heard you. The Lexus ES, not just for you, by you. Click the banner to discover more. Experience amazing at your Lexus dealer.
Thank you for taking time out of your day to listen to our podcast. This is iCompete, Building Your Empire with John Hewitt, live from the castle. Hi, I'm Roberta Barrett. I'm John Hewitt's producer. You might be asking, who is John Hewitt? Well, he is the Hewitt in Jackson Hewitt Tax Services. If you want to find out more about John Hewitt and what he's currently doing, go to loyaltybrands.com. That's loyaltybrands.com, or find John T. Hewitt on LinkedIn or Facebook. John Hewitt's made over 1,000 millionaires, and you could be the next one. Here is your host, John Hewitt.
Thank you, Roberta. Special guest, Sandy Stow. She started, I recall it was somehow related to 911. Tell us when you started with Liberty.
Yeah, I started actually 1 week before 9/11.
And how did you find out about Liberty?
Right, so you come to crossroads sometime and in your life or make a decision that happens to be life-changing. And this is one that I'm going to tell you, as you know, that was a life-changing to me. I met my neighbor and started talking with her, and she invited me to a business meeting, which was where I actually met you. I didn't know at that point in time that this was going to be such a life-changing experience for me, my family, and my extended family. After going to the meeting, I came to work and started working with you.
Let me take you back before we get into that. Before you joined Liberty, what did you do?
I was an optician.
And how many years?
About 20, a little under.
20. And did you enjoy it?
Yes, it was fun. I liked helping people.
And then you met me, and as I recall, when we met, it was your idea. I think Melissa was trying to get you to come to work for us, but somehow something snapped on that first meeting, that first presentation. Do you remember what it was that attracted you to the opportunity?
Actually, what happened was I went home and I started talking to my parents and my Aunt Connie. And they had been in Virginia Beach. Oh, I was in Virginia Beach all my life. They were here. They watched your first company, Jackson Hewitt, grow. They knew about Mel Jackson. They knew about it when you took over and changed it to Jackson Hewitt. And they knew about Liberty starting. They told me that sometimes, Sandy, people get a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and this is your once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. They said, you need to go for it. My husband said, I'll support you. And the rest is history.
God opens windows, and he doesn't do it every day and doesn't do it every week or month, but we all get our shots at greatness and to be all we can be. And so did you consider yourself a risk taker?
No. Absolutely not. My parents were not risk takers. I was brought up in a family where, for lack of a better word, took the money and put it under the mattress. We did not take risk.
So blue collar, they weren't business owners,
No.
And this was a startup. It was our second year in the United States, so you were taking a chance.
Right, but they told me, my parents and my Aunt Connie told me, and it's relatively funny because my cousin, her son, he came in with us and ended up being a big investor with you. Then his daughter came in and started working with us. So there's like 3 generations there.
I love what your bosses, your doctors told you when you told them you were going to come work with me. Can you remember what they told you?
Yes, they told me that you were going to make me work hard and then just let me go. You were going to use me.
Well, I've been using you for 20 years. They were thinking 20 minutes, right? Or 20 days or 20 weeks, right? But And, the interesting, remember about 10 years after that, didn't one of the doctor's children come and work for Liberty?
Yes.
So it's amazing, right? What happens in life. So, okay, so you started, and what department did you go into?
In franchise development.
Okay.
Selling franchises, and pretty successful in that.
Well,
Especially considering not knowing anything about the industry or franchising. And again, I can take that back to I believed, because that's what my family told me.
So, had you ever worked for a franchise before?
No, I didn't even know what a franchise was.
Had you ever sold a franchise? I guess you couldn't have sold it if you didn't know what it was.
Correct.
Okay. So how long did it take you to get up to speed and bring in your first new franchise?
Well, I started, again, 1 week before 9/11, and I think I closed my first franchise owner in probably October.
So in less than 60 days?
Yes.
And do you remember how many you brought in the first year, through December that year?
I think I brought in about 15 in the few months.
So, and then you did that. You were a franchise development representative for how many years before you changed into area representative?
Probably about 14 years.
Okay. Now, a couple years later, you came into my office, and so let me tell you the way I think of what happened. You said, I think I want to have one of these areas. I think I want to be an area representative. And I said, well, and you said, but I don't know anything about taxes. And I said, well, what I will do for you is I will pick out an area of the country, and I will get you a partner and help you do that. And we'll finance you to do that. So I will be glad to help you in that process. And again, you were getting ready to take another huge leap, right? You came to work for a startup. Now you're going to be self-employed. And had any of your prior generations in your family done that?
No.
Okay. So you were stepping out. And what made you do that?
Well, after we had our first convention, and the franchise owners that I had brought in came in and hugged me and said, thanks for helping me change my life. And I heard that for 2 years. And I decided I needed to start doing something for myself like that.
Well, after that, you read the disclosure document. And as I recall, a couple of days later, you came into my office and said, oh no, woe is me. And I said, well, what's the problem? You said, well, it says in this document that you can take my house away if I don't make payments. And I said, well, I have good news and bad news for you, Sandy. I said, I've never taken anyone's house and never going to take anyone's house. But if I die, they can take your house. And you reminded me of like the wise man that left Jesus and shaking his head that I can't give away all my possessions. You were just forlorn. And I said, well, that's fine. As you know, I always want what's best for you. So you walked away. And then 2 or 3 days later, you came in and said, you threw down the document. I'm ready to go. I'm going to do it. And so what happened? What was your transformation? What were you thinking from the time you first left and excited, okay, I'm going to get you a partner. I'm going to pick it out. I'm going to finance it. And then reading the document and throwing cold water over everything and then reigniting and coming back and do it. So what was your thought process during that week?
Well, I just had to get comfortable with the risk that I perceived that I was taking. I mean, I guess it is a risk that I was taking, but I believed in what we were doing, and I knew that I could do it. And I knew if I had a partner that was going to help me, I only had 50% of that responsibility.
So were you always that self-confident in your life? I mean, you've done very well in those 2 years, right? You're extremely well, high performer, maybe the highest performer in the company in franchise development, certainly one of the top 2 or 3 every year. And so you had begun to achieve great success. But if the same opportunity come up 3 years before while you were an optician, would you have been as self-confident?
No, absolutely not. That confidence grew over those couple of years of working with you and Liberty and helping these franchisees. And these franchisees being happy that I helped them.
So what area, you live in Virginia Beach, of course, what area of the country did you acquire initially?
The first one was in Las Vegas.
Okay, well, and who did I recommend to you as partner, and how did that start?
So you told me there was a franchisee out in Arizona that had wanted to be an area developer. His name was Jeff Knapp. You told me to reach out to him. And I did. I actually called him and said, hey, I'm Sandy. I know you don't really know me, but John said that we should talk. You wanted to be an area developer. And he said, okay, Sandy. He said, but can I give you a call back? And I was like, oh, that was kind of, I was excited. And it was kind of a little bit of a letdown. Can I call you back? A couple of days later, he called back and he had a death in the family. So that's why it took a little bit of time. But we talked probably 10 minutes and he said, I'm in. We signed the documents. That was in December of 2003. We met for the first time in May of 2004. So we were partners, signed this huge promissory note, and never met until 5 or 6 months later.
Huge is in the eye of the beholder.
It was huge at that time to me.
My huge and your huge might not be the same, but what was huge? How much was it?
It was like $325,000.
I think most people would say that's huge. So you acquired it. You never met. You took my word at it. But you each took my word at it. You both knew me separately, right, in separate ways for several years. And you said, and you banded together, and you met at the convention in following. Convention. So 5 minutes later, you finally met. And how did that partnership work out?
It was great. We both really had our lanes because he was very operational and I was marketing and sales. So I think the male-female, the not living close to each other and being in separate lanes really helped that. It was a perfect partnership.
So, and then he got sick.
Then he got sick.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And what happened then?
And so I ended up buying him out so he could go focus on his health.
And did you ever learn taxes during any of that time?
No. Today I don't know taxes.
So you don't do a lot of tax returns each year?
You do one, I do one less than you.
So in your whole life, how many tax returns do you think you've done? 0. Including your own? 0? You can be an area representative without knowing tax?
Absolutely.
Okay. And how many offices were there when you started in that area, in Vegas?
3.
And when it peaked, what are the number of offices?
About 30.
And you've sold that now?
Yes.
Okay. So you grew from 3 to 30. And then at some point, you decided to expand to another market. You own Vegas exclusively. Where'd you expand to?
Well, actually, Jeff was still in the picture when we bought Las Vegas. It was before he got sick. He's the one that said, we need to do more, Sandy, in which we came to you. You said Dallas or another area, and we said Dallas. And we opened up in there, and there were probably 5 offices, maybe.
So, and you just own part of Dallas. You didn't own all of Dallas.
That's correct.
There were a number of area representatives in Dallas. So there were 5 offices, and how many did it grow to?
45.
45. And you took on another partner. Who was that?
Steve Lipkowski.
And did he buy out Jeff?
He actually came in and was our financing partner.
Okay.
In that. So he was silent. Jeff and I had the sweat equity, and he brought in the cash. And then when Jeff got sick, I bought him out of Las Vegas, and we bought him out of Dallas.
Awesome. So at some point in this transaction, you switched from unit sales to area representatives, to large areas. At ATAX and Ledgers and even at Liberty Tax, there's 2 kinds of franchise. There's one is a unit franchise, and the other is an area representative franchise. Can you tell me the difference in each?
Sure. So the franchisee is running the locations, right? And the area developer is helping bring in new franchisees as well as coaching them. Then that's why I didn't have to know taxes, because they needed me to remove roadblocks. And that's what I focused on.
Okay. So we need to tell one of my favorite stories that I'm just so sad. And one of the few times you disappointed me. And Sandy and her husband and my girlfriend and I, we went out to dinner a lot, maybe once every 2-3 months. And she always wanted to pay. And one of my weaknesses is I have to do more for every person than they do for me. So I hate letting people pay. I just hate it. And if you think that you can trick me into letting me pay, what I do is, let's say it's $300 and you go early and you pay the check, or you call up in advance and put on your credit card and you think you're going to trick me. Well, I just take the $300 and put it on the table and you can leave it for them or not. And so you're stuck, right? One time, two partners from Ohio, we went out to breakfast and it was one of those poor customer service restaurants where you have to take your check up to the cashier and there can be a line up there. So there was a line. There was like 3 people ahead. So I said, I'll go get the car and you two, here's $40. Please pay it for me. So they came out to the car. They were so happy. We got you. We paid it on our credit card. So I took the $40 and I threw it out right on the ground and pulled away. They said, wait, we'll take it. And I said, you know what? We might have changed a homeless person's life, right? Who knows? God might have opened that up. They might be able to get a shave or a haircut and go get a job. We might have changed someone's life. Thank you for doing that. So it's virtually impossible but you asked me, you kept asking me. And so you said, I want to buy you dinner. So what was the deal?
When I became a millionaire, I could buy you dinner.
And so a few years later, you became a millionaire.
Yep.
So, and I hated it, but I can't go back on my word, right? I can't go back on my word. If I said it, I got to own up to it. So I thought I had the perfect practical joke. It was at Zoe's restaurant and I was there the night before. And I asked the waitress if she was going to be here the next night. And she said, yes, I'm going to be here. I said, you're going to help me play this practical joke on my guests tomorrow night. And because we share red wine, and so I always get a bottle of red wine, and then she just has some red wine. She knows much about wine as maybe your dog does. I mean, she's not a wine expert in any, even today, right?
Right.
I mean, can you name 5 great Cabernet Sauvignons or Merlots?
Probably not. I can name one.
Right, good. There you go. So here's what we're going to do. You're going to give me the wine list, and I'm going to look through the wine list, and I'm going to say, oh, I'll have this Ferguson. And you're going to say, but Mr. Hewitt, that's $1,200 a bottle. And I'm going to say, I don't care, she's paying. And then after the first glass is poured and there's still half of it left, then you're going to come over and I'm going to say, get us another bottle. And you're going to go, but Mr. Hewitt, there's half of it's left. I said, I don't care, she's paying. Right? But at the meantime, you're just going to bring the normal $50 bottle of wine. She doesn't pay any attention. She wouldn't have a clue, or most people wouldn't, right? I wouldn't if someone brought a bottle of wine to me, and it probably doesn't taste much better anyway if it's $1,200 or $50. So, I mean, she was a perfect actress. I must have screwed up my job because we did it, and Sandy never batted an eye. She didn't do anything. She just sat there and took the wine, and I only got one little happiness in it. When I ordered the second wine with half the bottle still there, her husband, Lee, said, could we have the second one by the glass, please? That's all I got. That's the only solace I got.
Well, John, when I started, I was making $35,000 a year. To become a millionaire, to spend a couple of $1,000s on dinner, who would blink an eye at that? And I wondered that night if I thought I was really drinking really good wine. Did it taste better because I thought it was expensive?
Probably did. So you've sold your area representative. You left Liberty, and now what are you doing?
Now I am the CEO of an emerging brand, Zoomin Groomin.
And tell us about the history of Zoomin Groomin.
It was started by a pet parent. Her name is Donna. She's up in Massachusetts, and she used to take her dogs to get them groomed and thought there needed to be a better way of doing this. So she started this brand and started growing it. She had some family issues and ended up wanting to bring in a partner. That's when we came in. And she is still part of the company. She's a great resource. She has so much information on this industry. And then we can come together and help grow this brand.
You missed the part about how she went from a Zoomin Groomin business, sole proprietor, and then becoming a franchisor. As I recall, some people that were friends of hers said, I'd like to do that. I'd like to do that. Why don't you franchise? And so that happens so many times that you have a viable business and people want to replicate it. They say, that sounds like fun. So you go out and you franchise. And it's usually a mistake. There are 3,500 franchisors in this country. Do you know how many locations you need to be in the top 50%?
Like 20?
20 is exactly right. And to be in the top 10%, you only need less than 200. So people think franchising, they think McDonald's and H&R Block and Holiday Inn. And I mean, they think of Subway and, McDonald's and Subway have over 20,000 locations, but most franchisors fail because what happens is exactly that. They take a mom and pop and the mom and pop says, yeah, I can do that. And I'm going to franchise this to everyone else. And that's not their skill set. And even CEOs of other industries, never been in franchising, join the franchising industry and they fail. What is it about franchising, do you think, that causes CEOs from other industries to not get it? What don't they get?
Well, one thing is they don't get that the franchise owners are business owners. They think of them as employees, that they can demand what they do and not giving them the respect that they deserve, that they are owners, or listen to them and their needs.
Yeah, and the number one key to success in franchising is creating happy, successful franchisees. And if you lose sight of that, then you're going to lose your company because the franchisees are your company. And so our philosophy here at Zoomin Groomin and all the brands that we own is happy, successful franchisees and happy, successful employees. If you have that, you're going to be a superstar. If you don't, you're going to fail. So tell me, not only did you become CEO of this, but what happened with your daughter? You haven't mentioned Katie at all. So How does she fit into this whole Zoomin Groomin?
Right. So, Katie grew up around franchising with us and has, I guess, had a little bit of that entrepreneurial spirit in her. And when we started talking about Zoomin Groomin, her and her boyfriend got really excited about this opportunity. And they said, you join, we're going to open up a franchise. And they have. They actually started their truck started yesterday. They announced it on social media probably 2 weeks ago, but within a couple...
But wait before you say that. Announcing on social media is kind of vague.
Okay.
Because they didn't do very much, did they? What did they do?
They put it on Facebook.
Yeah. So that's kind of announcing on social media means you might have spent $15,000. They spent zero, right? They just put it on their Facebook page?
Correct. At 8 o'clock one evening, by 11 o'clock, Katie said she had got so many calls and already had 10 appointments, I think it was, in just a couple of hours. She said at 11 o'clock, I had to turn off my telephone because I was so tired. She's an early bird too. She goes to bed. And then within probably a week of it being out, had 50 appointments scheduled and still didn't have her van. So she's not working yet. Yesterday, she started with her van and she was out for the first time. She said people were coming up and asking for her card while she was out with her groomer. She's not going to be a groomer. She's going to be like me in the taxes. She's not going to do the grooming.
So we haven't really talked about why the van is so attractive. What is it about the van that is getting these people? It's not just a simple white van.
No.
Is it? What is it?
It's beautiful. It's bright blue. It has a beautiful dog and cat on it. And it's big. It's an extended wheelbase, high top van. So it's big. You notice it when it's coming down the street.
So if they wanted, they could look at a picture. Where would they go to look at a picture of the van?
They can go to zoomingroomin.com and see a picture of the van.
So if I wanted to join Zoomin Groomin, become a franchise in one of the fastest growing parts of the country, what would be the total startup cost?
If you paid cash for everything, it's probably $130,000, but we have a lot of financing available through the van. They'll do the financing, the upfit, all that can be financed for you.
So I would guess financing a van is a lot simpler than financing a customer list, for example.
Correct.
Well, how much of the 130 is for a van?
About 80.
So they could get started with $50,000 plus financing on a van.
Correct.
I mean, most people, when they go to buy a car, finance it, right?
Correct.
So it's the same kind of thing. It's just that it's $80,000. Do you need an office to start?
No, you can do this from your home.
And what other services are included besides grooming?
Right. So you can do pet sitting. You can do pet walking. The services are kind of endless that you can do. You can drop off pet food if your client wanted that. Anything in this industry we can do.
And when you hire groomers, how much do we pay groomers?
Mm-hmm. So depending on their experience, for a groomer, it's going to be 40 to 50% of the grooming fee. Now, we also charge a convenience fee for the franchisee, and that's going to pay for the upkeep on the van. So each appointment has a $25 convenience fee. So if the service is $100, to the pet parent, it's going to be $125. The groomer would get $50. The average groomer is going to get $50. The franchisee gets $50 plus $25.
And was it hard to figure out what 50 plus 25 was?
No. I've learned a little math.
Okay, good. So how much is it?
50 plus 25? Yeah. 75.
Okay. So the owner gets 75 and the employee gets 50. And so how many grooms a day can they do?
Depending on the hours that they work, the average is probably 8. They could do more. You get more grooms than when you have multiple pets in a household. You don't have that drive time. More than 50% of our pet parents have multiple pets.
It's been a fast half hour. Thank you very much for being my guest.
Thank you.
Thank you for taking the time to learn about how to build your empire with John Hewitt. Find John on LinkedIn at John T. Hewitt or message John Hewitt on Facebook. This is iCompete, live from the castle, building your empire with John Hewitt. Don't miss new episodes every Monday by subscribing on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, cpnshows.com, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Until next time, this was iCompete, building your empire with John Hewitt.
Mr. World here, working the red carpet at the big awards show. You know, the paparazzi keeps asking me, what are you wearing? Well, I'm wearing the hottest styles from Eyeglass World, of course. Eyeglass World has all the nominees for Best Stylish Frames. Even better, they're the winner for Best Supporting Prices.
Get hundreds of designer frames for hundreds less at Eyeglass World, the world's best way to buy glasses. Visit eyeglassworld.com to schedule your eye exam online.
Every day, my employees get scam emails. I wanted to protect my business and clients, so I checked out CISA's Secure Our World. They've got 4 simple ways we can protect our businesses from online threats. Learn more at cisa.gov/Secure Our World.